We have an office dog and he wants to be a part of this webinar too. Yes, I think we got it right. So now you guys can see that, you know, this terrain is sort of blocking our pool, right? So you want to push it down like how you would uh, in real life. So is being live streamed. Got it. Okay. So I'm going to terrain editing. So this is my Sculpt tool. So what this does basically is it pulls up. So there's a bug where in ray tracing you can't see the brush, but let me do edit, preferences, and yeah, ray tracing off, save. So this is how it will be in, you know, we'll give you a patch or something, but this is how it should be. So you see it sculpts up. If you hold shift and do it, it sculpts it down. Okay, look at that. So I'm going to hold shift and remove the terrain over here. So I am making weight for my water material. Right? Okay, so there we go. So I'm going to show you a little bit about terrain sculpting while we are on the topic. So you can increase or decrease, you know, the radius, and, you know, it keeps getting bigger or smaller, and sculpt strength. So if you increase it, you see how this is just doing it more intensely. And sculpt, okay, so I'm going to choose this. Sculpt fall off is basically how smooth it is, how smooth the edges are. So if your fall off value is more, so it is a smoother curve, and if it is less, then it is a more sharper curve. You can also choose the kind of curves here. So let me just decrease the radius and show you guys. Yeah. So this is linear. So this increases linearly. I suppose you guys can start playing around with these, uh, you know, toggles and sliders and figure it out for yourself. So this is the paint tool. So in the paint tool, basically, you can paint your terrain. So I'm going to go to grass and pull in something noticeable and maybe put it here. So if you change the first slot, this entire terrain will change. So I'm using the second slot and paint it, right? So you can paint sand and make desert regions, or, you know, it's what you choose to do. And this is a leveler tool. So like I said again, so if you hold shift and do it, it digs out all at the same level. So you can choose to make pools or whatever. And if you want like mounts like this, you know, for if there's a plateau just above the ground level, you can use this to do that. And this is the smoothening tool. This is pretty smooth, so I'm going to go over this. You see all of these sharp edges here. I'm going to smoothen it. And so this is a flattening tool. So you see, let me go and show you here. You see all of these edges here, it sort of flattens it out, right? And this is the eraser tool. So whatever you've done, whether you've leveled up or, you know, you've dug up the ground, it erases anything you've done and it just brings it all back to normal. So I'm just going to erase everything. And yeah, so that's for the voxel tool. There's so many more things you can do. Obviously, this is not an exhaustive demo, so I'm not going to do all of them. Okay, so let's go, let's click on selection tool so we can go back to texturing our building. So for water, I'm just going to pull in a plane because you need to apply it on something, right? So if you have a plane or something, you can apply the water material and make it behave like water. So plane, yeah. So this is too small, so I'm going to scale it up to maybe, let's see, 5. Okay, maybe a little bigger, 6. Okay, this is not enough, so I'm going to scale it to 7. Yeah, there we go, that's enough. And maybe pull it up a little higher. Yeah, that's good. Okay, so let us go to materials, water, click on water. So it's not drag and drop, click and then place it. Oh, that looks cool. Okay, so before I do that, I'm just going to hide it for a second. Because it's white, I don't want it to change the water, the way the water looks and the way the pool looks. So I'm going to material, library, tiles, and in tiles, I'm going to look for pool material, right? The pool tiling. Yeah, I think this looks good. Oh, because there's a plane there. Okay, I'm going to remove my plane. We'll come back and add it. Oh, sorry. Okay, it added to my plane because that's what the rays are hitting. Okay, delete your plane if you've put in already. So go back to my tiles and pick. I think this is too small. Let me see how I can scale it. Yeah, that looks good. It looks big now, but when you go further behind, I think it looks proper. I'm setting my scale to 0.4. You can, of course, choose to put in anything else. You can choose to make your tiles green, blue, black, whatever suits you. I'm just going to keep it very simple. We'll get to the weathering system, the sky system, the meaty bits a little bit later. First, let's just make our building look a little bit more presentable. And this, maybe I won't choose a pool material. Maybe I'll go for stone of some sort. So use the library, back to materials, use stone, pick whatever. I'm going for a Mediterranean look here. So I'm just going to maybe use that. Use that, whatever, right? So choose whatever you want to. I think I'll go with that. Okay. Okay, so let's pull in our plane. I think we'd scaled it up to 7, right? So let me just. Also, I'm doing uniform scaling. So I'm clicking on the lock here. So that is uniform scaling, because sometimes you want to scale only the x-axis. So then you would unlock and then manipulate only the x value. But here, I don't care. I just want to do uniform scaling. Yeah, I think that looks good. Go to materials, water. Yes. Okay. It looks good as is, but I'm just going to show you some properties that we can do here. Hmm. Is someone talking? Okay, 1 minute. I'm going to wear my earphones. I cannot hear it over the speakers. Hello? Hello? I thought I heard someone speak, but okay. I'm going to move on. But if you have any questions, please feel free to stop me and ask me any questions. Okay. Um, Also, Vishwant, if you could admit people, so there's some people in the waiting room. Fine. So let's go to this, right? So here I've kept the roughness and all of that at 0, because see, if you increase the roughness, you're going to lose that reflection. And so metallic, I'm going to crank it up. And specularity also, I'm going to crank it up. So that sort of makes it looks a little more realistic as to how it is to water. But of course, I mean, there's several different kinds of water bodies like lakes and oceans and all of those things with different sort of dirt elements. So based on that, you can manipulate all of those things. All right. And there's a surface tint color, shallow color. I'll show you. I'll manipulate it. See, you can change the color of the water and make it look so. If you want a greener water body, you can do that. Yellow, and if it's some jello or something like that, you can probably have a red jello, green jello, whatever, right? So I'm just going to, okay. Okay, so I've switched off my ray tracing. I was just meddling with it. So make sure your ray tracing is on if you have RTX machines. I think that's the, so I think because I switched over, it was a lot of, oh, sorry, not a, so I think it was just like reflecting the plane itself. So I'm just going to place another plane. Go to mesh, manipulate it, apply water material. Oh. Let me check if my hybrid translucency or something is on. It's off. One minute. Let me just pull something. Huh? I'm going to try it with a cube. Something seems to be off because maybe it doesn't have any depth. There's just a lot of reflections, I think. I'm just going to use a cube here. Maybe decrease the Z2. I'll just give it 0. And increase X to maybe this. Oh, that's too big. So guys, this is a beta product. So, you know, you will have to forgive us if there's any bugs or something like that. But overall, it should work very well. Okay, that looks okay. I'm going to give it a water material. And by the way, yeah, this looks all right. So if you guys have any bugs or if you have any feature requests, you should join our Discord channel, because you'll have access to all of our team members, and they will be very responsive there, and you know, we can help you out quicker. So now I'm going back to material. I'm going to show you some properties again. All right, and there's wave scale. So as you can see, I'm increasing the wave scale. Maybe this is a better angle for you guys to see. I'm increasing the wave scale and it's just getting bigger. So if you were in a larger water body, your waves would be more spread out. So you would have to do this wave scaling. But since this is just a pool, I'm just going to keep it at this. This looks good. And wave strength. So I'm going to increase it. Okay, look at this. So if there was a storm or something like that, you could just you know, do more. You could increase the wave strength to have it look more like that, but it's a pool, so this is all there's going to be. Wave speed, again, the way they move, right? So all of this you can use to do a time-lapse video and capture a very nice, you know, water flowing or waves moving and all of those things. But for now, I think this is all right. I'm actually going to reduce it even bit. Okay. Okay, I think this looks good. Weathering, we'll get back to it. So I think our pool is starting to look good. I'll show you some. I'll paint some colors. I think this is too dark. So maybe make it a little lighter. Reduce opacity, because I want my water to be more clearer. Once again, if it's a more dense liquid body, then you would have to increase the opacity, because that looks more realistic. So it depends on what you're doing, but these are our controls. I think I'm going to reduce opacity a little bit more. Okay, this is good. And shallow color also you can change. You see, I don't know if it's noticeable through all the screen sharing, but it has a very light hint of red now. So if you're working alongside, then you know, you can probably see it. And the deep color, so even this, so it's how, you know, the layers of water and how it manipulates the deepest layer. I'm just going to keep it looking like normal water. Okay, let's move on to setting it up. I'm going to pull in a pool chair or something. So we'll have a huge list of library, and you can just probably use things in our library. I'm just showing it because you guys might want to import many other things, and just so you know. Okay. So what you can also do is, so if you are pulling in a model that you want to use repeatedly, right? So what you can do is import. While importing, I'm going to say import this, right? I can add it to my library also. So when you have your future project, you can just drag and drop it in the library, even though this model did not exist in our library prior to you pulling it in. Okay, so I'm going to do both. Okay, category. Because if you are adding it to a library, you need to make a category. Okay, so I'm going to say NASA props or something like that. I'll say okay. So this is here, but also it's in the library. So anytime you want to use it again, you could just go to NASA props and you'll find it there. Okay, don't worry about how the material looks. We can always change that later. Okay, so this is the pool, lounge chair, and I'm using my reference picture here, so you could also use yours. I'm going to start texturing it. So let me go to, okay, I'm just going to use this. It still looks kind of plain. I'm going to change the albedo. So albedo is what picture, uh, should be overlaid on top of all the other textures. So okay, so I have it. I have them here. You must also have them. I'm just going to pull this in. Okay, there we go. And I'm just going to use some sort of a wood probably on this. So close it. Go to materials, wood, and pick basically anything that you like, as long as you're happy with the aesthetics. That's cool. Yeah, I think that looks cool. And now, ooh, look at our water. It's overflowing a little bit. I'm going to push it down a little bit. I think that's okay. So now I'm going to duplicate this chair. I'm pressing Alt, clicking on the object and moving the gizmo. So here I'm going to give you a little tip. So you see when there is, so let's rotate it. Go to mesh and rotate it, right? So the gizmo is all skewed, right? So if you want to move it left or right, you will have to do this and adjust it. So you can just hit Q. So if you see the info bar here, you see it's set to world, and notice the gizmo now. I'm going to hit Q. The gizmo becomes rotated, but generally you want to move it left and right because that's the orientation we are used to, right? So I'm just going to hit Q, and there we go, right? So it becomes easy like that. Oops, okay. Okay, I think that's rotated too much. Okay, never mind. So the deck here, I'm going to choose wood again. Let's try a couple of them. Oh, I think we need to pull this up a little bit. Yes, there we go. Oh, no, too much. Yeah, that looks good. Too worn out. Let me pick something else. Or this. Yeah, I think I like this, but it's too red and dark. So I'm going to increase the lightness to decrease the, color and make it a little bit lighter. Maybe too light. Okay. And also the planks look too small, right? So let's scale it out a little bit. Yeah, I think that looks good. Oh, look at this lonely guy here. Let's go help him out. No, that's all. Okay, let me go to material and fabric. Let me use this here. And once again, feel free to use whatever materials you want to, in case you're working along. I think I'm happy with that. So use your reference image and create whatever you want to. Combination. So I'm just going to switch up my materials, make it look more wickerish. So go to scale here, material scale. Again, don't be in the mesh category. You're going to make the chair itself bigger or smaller. So just go here and see, there we go. It's already giving it that wicker look. Okay, I think 0.6 is good. Okay, now that I'm happy with all the materials and things like that, let me rotate it a little bit. Rotation, you need to go back to mesh, otherwise you'll rotate the material. Okay, and yeah, that's good, I think. Yeah. So hit Alt, click on the mesh and pull it. Change the material. You see how the gizmo isn't changing at all? I'm rotating my object, but the gizmo isn't changing. Now hit Q and move it. So the gizmo rotates with the object, right? There's a tip. Okay, I think our pool area looks all right. Let's give our building some love. And I'm just going to use, what do I use? I'll just use plasters. Oh, okay. So this is how the texturing works. Okay. I don't like the gray part. So as you can see in my reference image, it has a little yellowish tinge. So you can always, when you like a color, go just on Google, just type in, shades of that color, and you're going to get hex codes. Or you could use a color picker, open up a reference picture that you really like, use a color picture, go click on the color that you like, and it's going to give you a hex code, and start with that hex code. Otherwise, you can't, there's so many colors, right? So it's very difficult for you to adjust all the values to bring it to exact that color. So that's what I've done. I've picked from the reference image, I've just taken that hex code. So this plaster, I'm going to material, physical properties, and albedo color, I'm just going to punch in that hex code, okay? Yeah. Oh, and you see the bluish tinge? I don't like that bluish tinge. I am going to change the sky, okay? Sky settings. So let's, because otherwise, if I put a texture on, it looks different in different light settings. So you want to set your all of the light settings to a pretty much final look, so that all the textures look proper under the proper lighting. So I'm going to sky system here, and time of day, see, it goes from 0 to 2400, which is 0 to 24 hours in a day. So I am going to set it sometime, in 3 o'clock. Yeah, you see how the bluish tinge went away and this looks more yellow now. So yeah, it's in the afternoon, I think. But I don't like the way the sun is casting shadows. So I am going to change that. So you could just turn it around, play with it, see where you're happy with the shadows. I think that looks good. So let me show you some settings here, right? So we just changed the sun angle. Look at how the sun moves, right? So it's lateral movement here. Generally, when I'm changing my sun angle, I just like to go here, see the shadows, and then move my sun angle. I'm going to set it here. I like the way it's casting shadows. And the sun radius is, this. So I'm just going to set it back to normal, but you can play with it. If you're building a structure in a desert or something, maybe if the sun is bigger, you could play with that. And sun casts shadows off and on, right? So if I off it, see, it's no shadows are cast. So you lose that sense of depth. So I'm going to keep it on. And sunlight intensity is basically how intense, you want the sunlight to be. Sun disk intensity. So whenever there is light, right? So whenever something is appended with light, sunlight, moonlight, skylight, this affects the environment light. And when it's sun disk intensity, you don't find the word light in it. It just changes the intensity of the sun, right? If it's 12 noon and, you want the sun to be really, really bright, or, you're doing something in Hawaii, you could just make it really bright. So that's what that's for. And the sun inclination. See, once again, you can play with this. And again, once again, I tend to look at the shadows and see how it's casting the shadows, and then like to set it. You can play with many, many more stuff here. I'm going to move on to clouds. Okay. So in clouds, volumetric clouds is basically a 3D cloud. And if I switch it off, it's a 2D cloud. So you see cloud coverage here looks much, much more realistic. And if I switch it off, it does look realistic. You might want to do this for performance sometimes, but I'm just going to leave it on. So you can play with the cloud coverage, cloud phase. So what you can do is in a time-lapse video, you could set cloud phase to one thing and in another cloud phase to something else and have it move. So in cloud density, the clouds are getting thicker. So I'm just going to reset them all. And cloud wisps are those little things, that you get here. If you can, okay. If you can notice here, the wisps, how dark or light you want it to be. And cloud height, right? So if you were building a structure on a mountain or something and you're much more closer to the clouds, you could like pull them down and push them up like that. And the cloud scale, the cloud noise, I'm going to reset them all because I don't want to get into all of those things. The cloud brightness, if the sky is clearer, it would be more bright. And the cloud shadows. Okay, the cloud shadows, will have to increase the coverage like this, and then off. Wait, cloud brightness also. Let me increase. Right. So now you can see how bright it is. So if I say cast shadows off, I don't know if you guys can see. Hold on. Cloud. Let me increase cloud coverage and cloud density. And yeah. So can you see the change there? So it's all like off and on. So I'm going to reset them all. If I increase the shadow density and then see. So you can play with all of those values. I'm just going to reset them all. Too much. And I showed you the sun angle and night. Okay. To see all of these settings, obviously the time of day has to be night. Let's bring the moon in. Okay. I'm going to play with the radius of the moon, so everything else that I do will seem exaggerated and more noticeable. Okay. Wow. That's enough, I think. And the moon color, this is something really fun, if you're creating something for Halloween or something, you can have a blood moon and have it really, really red, but I'm not going to change it. And the moon phase, look at how, right? New moon to full moon and all that. I'm just going to leave it. And the glow intensity and night brightness. Now you see, we can't see anything, right? So I'm just going to increase the night brightness, and that helps us get more visibility. And once again, you can play with the moon inclination, moon angle. This is how it moves, moon angle and moon rotation. So it just rotates like this because one can never see the dark side of the moon, right? So it just rotates like this. And moon orbit offset. So orbit offset is basically where it is positioned in relation to Earth. And let's have our stars come out. So I'm going to increase the intensity of the stars so you can see way more stars. And star speed. Look, they're all moving, right? So if you were doing something in maybe Yellowstone or going stargazing, you can just have it all right here. Once again, this makes a very good effect for our time-lapse video in Video Exporter. Again, you can change the stars color, stars phase. And I want to show you something, one more cool thing. So let's go here. And yeah, let's show some auroras. You see how the reflection looks really cool here, right? Auroras, intensity I'm going to increase. So if we had lesser ripples and lesser movement and still water, basically the reflection would be much better. So maybe I'll do that. So wave strength, I'll make it 0. So basically, you see how beautiful the reflection looks. So let me go back to my sky system. Sorry, I'm not in sky system. So I can have the auroras moving really fast. So set your camera angles to see those reflections, change aurora phases. You can do a bunch of things here. I'm going to just reset it all. I was just trying to show you guys things. Let's go back to setting our scene up. So a lot of cool features, you know, and if you guys have faced any problems doing something, or if you find a bug or you have a feature request, please join our Discord channel and let us know. That's where you'll get the quickest responses. So I'm going to change my time of day to 3 p.m. or something like that, right? Like 15. Okay. Oh, my water, I want to bring some ripples back because the wind will create some ripples, right? It's never so still. So my wave strength, maybe 2. I'm happy with that. And let's texture our house a little bit more. It looks very plain. Let me go to grass and pull in lawn grass, I suppose. Yeah. And go to plaster, whatever I did before, right? So just put them on here. Like I said, I have chosen an albedo color. You guys could go on Google, hit up whatever you want and use that. I'm just using a yellowish tinge because I'm trying to recreate a Mediterranean villa, and I feel like that's what looks best. So go to albedo, punch in. Yeah, okay, that's easy. And it all looks a little monotonous, so maybe I'll just apply a stone wall or something here, just add a little bit of accents. because that's what makes or breaks your interior design element really. Oops, I selected something else. So you want to play with a lot of textures, to bring in that element of design and make it look very pretty. I left the pillars out. Don't worry, I got you. We're working on creating, materials so you don't have to go over to all of these materials and change the same thing. That's coming soon as a patch. But for now, please make do with it. Oh, we have it already. Okay. So for our flows, I'm going to go for something.
They want to see camera speed.
Oh, they want to see camera speed. Okay. So go to default camera. So you can either, hold, this is right click the mouse button and scroll. That will change your camera speed like so. I'm using the scroll button now to do this. Or you could just click on default camera and change the camera speed right here. Okay. Is that good or any more questions? Okay, that's good. So I am going to pull in some reddish material. I'm not sure what. Let's just go and see. Tiles. Let me go to tiles. So if you right click and sort of push the mouse upwards, it's going to keep scrolling. So that's another thing. Oh, that's the end of the library. Let me see how this looks. Too much. Too much. Just going to use this and change the brightness. Wait, there's something nicer here. Change the brightness. Okay, we could just leave it there. And for my shingles also, I'm going to go to some the shingles here. I'm just looking for a material you guys could do and use whatever you think is right. Some sort of a terracotta material, I think, would look best. So try to match the material also, so it just decreases your work by a lot. That looks good. But, okay, but I want it to be a little bit redder. So again, use a color picker, choose the tile or whatever that, the color that you want to choose, and you're going to get a hex code and you can punch it in here. I'm going to increase the brightness a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to make it a little bit redder. Yeah, I think that looks better. And I am going to pull in a stone for this. I think you guys also must have it. I'm again going to show you how to pull in a user created material. Stone right here. So we use 4 maps. So I'm just going to say create new. I'll say facade stone, and category I'll just use NASA tiles. Okay, just put it in there. So I'm just dragging and dropping. So this is my albedo because this is the image. So I'm going to drop in here, and I'm going to use ambient occlusion, which is what gives that, you know, nice shadowy texture and gives it depth. Oh, where's my AO map? Yeah, it's right here. Then I'm going to use my normals and roughness. Okay, those are the 4 textures that I need, and I will say save. Okay, so it's saved here. I'm just going to apply it here. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think that looks better. I'm just going to apply it all over. Oh, I want to show you guys blending here. I'm going to show, use blending, turn it on. Okay, so this, and draw in a material here. I'm going to use this because, oh, sorry, this you've got to drag and drop. So I'm going to say use custom mask on. So you've got to check your height map, right? So go to texture preview, and if there is a height map, you can start, you can say use custom mask off, right? But if you do not have a height map, so say use custom mask on, you can pull in anything over here, full cover, let's say on, and you can spread it. See how it has a nice spread, right? So for walls where you do have height maps, it very neatly, you know, grows in the crevices. So you can do that. So I'm going to say off. Let me check if we have a height map. Yeah, so we do have a height map. So I'm just going to pull it in. Go to texture preview, go to height. This is my displacement texture. I am going to pull in here. Okay, so now we do have a height map. So I want to show you how it looks. Okay, it looks very flat, right? This texture looks very flat. So I'm going to increase my normals a little bit. Okay. I'll show you blending first. So later we can go and adjust everything. So here, use custom mask. I'm saying off, and then increasing the spread. Oh, wait. Oh, I haven't added any blending material. Okay, just add the texture again. Full cover on, and
add the stone texture again.
okay, I'm being told to add all of these things again. 1 minute. Add all of these things again.
Just add that.
Oh, the height map's gone. Okay.
Just add it.
I'll just add the height map again. Okay. Let me check if it's there this time. Okay, it is there this time. So I'm going to blend, use blending on, use custom mask off because I just added my height map, and full cover on, and let us go and check our spread. Okay, so you see how it's growing only in the crevices first, right? So that looks really cool. So right now I'm going to switch off my blending,
That stone material.
and I am going to NASA tiles, and I need to click. Right, so I'm going to show you a few more cool things here. So here, this already has, you know, good normals. It already looks bumpy, but if it did not, let's play around with normals and see what goes on. See, it looks much flatter. And if I increase it, wow, this is really rocky, right? So I'm just going to go back to default. I think this looks good. And also I can play around with the roughness and have the texture of the stone be a little bit rougher. You see how it's more shiny here. So all of these processed stones are a little bit more shiny. So if you were doing really raw stone, then it would be rougher with no sheen at all. So I think that's looking good. Oh, we haven't textured here. Why did we leave that guy out? I'm going back to plaster 12. Okay, I'll change my albedo. Okay, I think it's taking shape now. Okay, okay, so let's make all of these things glass, right? So go here, click on it. You see the default material here, you could make it glass and it becomes glass. I think that is too rough, so I'm going to change the roughness. First, let's change opacity. I think it's too opaque. I think that's much better. 0.4. I'm going to just hit 0.4. And roughness is too much. Let's try 0.01 first. Okay, I'm going to go with 0.02. Okay. And reflection. Let's make sure reflection is at 1. Look what happens when the reflection is at 0. So there's no reflection. It stops looking like glass. So set it to 1. That's best. And the diffraction value is, you know, the n value, right? So 1.52. It's just physics. So I just punched in that value over there. And visibility, how much, you know, you want it to be see-through, play around with that. Here there's too much shine, you probably can't see the visibility, but that's what it alters. It's very descriptive. And okay, I don't really like the floor here. It looks very garish, so I'm going to change it. There's a floor category in materials, so I am just going to go there. This looks like a nicer red. Let's see what happens. Let me just increase the scale a little bit. Just see whatever, you know, works for you. Do that. I think that's okay. Okay. The scene looks a little bit dull here. So how are we doing on time? 7:20. Okay. I'm just going to show you guys a little bit more, and then I think we can, you know, answer your questions. I just had things for 1.5 hours, so we can start answering all of your questions. So I am going to show you some intensity and all of those things. So go to render settings. the GI intensity. If you increase, it increases the, global intensity, and it makes the scene brighter. And if you go here and play with AO intensity, you see, you should look at the corners really. So the AO intensity, when you play around, you see how it starts looking flatter in the corners. And if I increase it, it gives that sense of depth. We want that, so we are going to keep it at that. And especially when I increase GI intensity and reduce AO, you guys can see how it starts looking really flat, right? So this is a balance that you have to, manage to make your things look really photorealistic. I'm just going to go back. We can show you more lighting later on. So let me show you weather system also. Sorry guys, let me just have a sip of water. It's raining out, so let me show you what rain looks like in here. So, so in automatic, okay, so this is our weather system. So first of all, you can play with the fog density and fog opacity and all of those things. I'm just going to reset it. And the fog distance, how much, so let me increase it. So the fog distance, so it's pretty much the distance from camera. So if you increase the fog distance, it comes, like it goes away from the camera. If you pull it in, it's, closer to the camera. So I'm just going to reset all of these values. It was just to show you guys. So to use any of our precipitation system, right? First, you have to switch on hybrid translucency. Go to render settings, global. So why we need to do it? So what hybrid translucency is, it is a hybrid between ray tracing and rasterization. So right now there are some limitations in real-time rendering. So all the particles that are falling, so particles could be anything, right? Like rain, snow, fire, smoke, anything. So it's difficult for it to render it out properly. So you have to switch on hybrid translucency for this. And but I'll also give you an example of how this hybrid translucency works, right? So let's just go to basic shapes. 1 minute. Selection tool, basic shape. Pull this in and pull something else in, maybe a sphere or something. Okay, so apply glass to both of these things, from baked to glass, baked to glass. I'm going to reduce the scaling of this. Go to mesh and okay, not that. Okay, I'm going to keep this back to 1. Change the opacity. Go in materials, physical properties, opacity. Generally, I like to keep to glass 0.4. And if there is roughness, make it 0. So it's a clear glass. Once again, I'm doing it for this material also. If there is roughness, 0. Okay. Okay. Oh. So you see that sphere behind it, you can almost not see it. So here, let's come to hybrid translucency. Where are we? Yeah, here. So when you switch it off, you see how you can see a sphere there very clearly. Okay. And I'm going to turn it on, and you see how it stops looking. That's because this is not pure ray tracing, right? So this is hybrid. So that's why that happens. But if you want any sort of particle system to work, then you have to switch on hybrid translucency. That is okay. It will still look good. There's ways to make it look good. See, our water looks all right. It looks good. So let me delete this. That was just to show you guys. Okay. So let's, I think, okay. Let's go to weather system and let's turn on automatic weathering. I'll show you that also. Automatic weathering, let's turn it on. And precipitation type, we have rain and snow. I'm going to click rain. So have it rain, right? So when you come here, okay, when you come here, you see, okay, when you go here, you can see it better. You see how it is pooling here in the, in here, it is pooling. And if I turn it off, it stops pooling there, right? So if I turn it on, so let me show you in snow, it is more noticeable. So you see how all of this falls and you see how the water seems to be freezing and some places, you know, it's more icy than others. If I turn it off, it's gone, right? So I want to show you guys something. So let me adjust it like this. Make it rain. Increase the precipitation amount. You see on the water, it looks like, you know, it's splashing out water. And I'm going to increase the, see, that looks so cool. And if you go here, look at this. The window seems to be having those water streaks, right? So sometimes, you know, when you have your window out, the water streaks are going to be there. But since this is under a roof, if we don't want the water streaks to stream down the window, you could always go and select that material. And you see here, weather properties, click on that and drip scale and manual weathering, turn it on. There you go. So it goes on, right? So there's, you can choose, if your glass is on the outside and rain would actually fall on it, you could turn it off and then, you know, you'd have all the streams. And drip scale, see, if I, so manual wetness, I'm going to turn it on, and drip scale, I'm going to change it, see? So you can do all sorts of things here. So I'm just going to turn it off, let it be for now. We can come back to the building later on. So let's go back to our weather system and have automatic weather on. Rain, precipitation, I'm going to increase to maximum. And so when I do off, when I switch it off, then you see you sort of lose that wetness quotient. But if I increase the wetness, you can start seeing. See here, I'm going to turn automatic weathering off, on. So it's all pulled up here. I turned off my automatic weathering and there's nothing over here. But if I increase my wetness, it's going to start looking like, you know, it's all pulled in. Okay. So I'm going to keep it on. Wow, there's a lot of snow. So I'm going to turn it off. Snow coverage also, you can play with it. And you can play with wind speed. So if there was foliage here. Okay. So maybe I'll show that to you guys later. Okay. I think that's our weathering system. And here, you know, sometimes, you know, you might guys, you might import some models which don't have pivots set to center. So sometimes what happens, the pivot is somewhere else. And if you want to make changes to the model, it's very non-intuitive, right? Because if you turn, especially when it's rotation, if you turn something here, this is going to move along the circumference and not, where you want it to turn. So it's going to cause all sorts of trouble. I'm going to turn off hybrid translucency now. I don't want all of this going on. Okay. So because we've turned on manual weathering and all that, there's still some pooling of snow and rain streaks here. Never mind that. I'm just going to show you the pivot. So go to select an object. Okay, so for this, pivot is already set, but if it weren't, I'd do right click, center pivot. Okay, so it would come in the center. So I think that's a very useful thing to have. Okay, so it is 7:30. I don't want to keep you guys for too long. So, if you guys have any questions, you can feel free to shoot and we'll be happy to answer them. And yeah, this is recording, and you can, I think Divyansh or Vishwant will send you the recording, so you have access to all of those things. I think Rohan's been answering all the questions anyway, so I don't know if you guys still have some leftover questions. We can, so you guys can texture it all and come back tomorrow. So that way, we'll have a prettier looking model. And we'll also upload the model. So, if you guys want to start this from where we left off, you can do that also. So this session was more about showing you the features and everything. And I really hope you guys liked it. So, and please join the Discord channel, so you have better access to us, and subscribe to our YouTube channel also. We'll be posting a lot of helpful videos about not just our tool, but even the supplementing softwares, and where you can get textures and some design tips, and definitely about the metaverse, and how architects can monetize on it, how architects can play a very significant role in building the metaverse, and plenty of other exciting things like that. And if you have any reference images, and send it to us and say recreate this in your studio software, we'd be happy to do that also. And if you have any other questions about anything else in this area, so please feel free to ask us questions. And we have done plenty of research over the last few years, so we'll be very happy to give you all that information. So Vishwant, I think unless someone has a question, I think that's all I had planned for today.
So if anyone has any more questions, please ask or post it in the chat box.
Oh, 1 minute. Yeah, hello?
Yeah.
Hello?
Can you hear me, ma'am? Hello?
Okay. Oh, I don't hear you. Okay. Yeah. Can you just type it in the chat, Vishwant? I'm sorry, I don't hear you very well. Oh, can you hear him, Rohan? Oh, okay. So you could maybe talk. Rohan can hear you. Just going to save it in the meanwhile. I'll say NASA A2. Also, guys, I think a lot of people aren't receiving the emails because we're still getting, people are still saying we haven't received any confirmation emails, and we don't know if the session is going on or things like that. So you can just tell your friends that it is going on. Yesterday we received a couple of those. Today we received a couple of those.
Okay,
Yeah.
ma'am.
So
if nobody has any more questions, we can wrap it up today.
Okay. All right then. It's lovely to have you all here. So hopefully we'll meet tomorrow. See ya, guys. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Wait, someone said application. Yeah, there is a drive link that you can download it from. Yeah. Guys, if you haven't received the email, just ask Divyansh or Vishwan, because all of these details are in the email. You can download the software and use it in your own leisurely, and let us know. Give us inputs, please. Good or bad,
Download.
please give us inputs. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So Rohan's put in the Google Drive link there. All right then. Thank you all for joining us. So we'll see you tomorrow. See ya.
Thank you.